Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahi Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahe. Om Asato ma Satgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukh Bhagabhave. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shri Sai Ram. Good evening. Welcome to day 2 of Atma Chalisa Revisited. So yesterday we took up the first 6 chapters of the first 6 days, and we ended with day 6 where we discussed the power of Satsanga. And the best way to describe the power of Satsanga is in the words of Shankaracharya ji, where he said, Satsangatve Nissangatvam, Nissangatve Nirmohatvam, Nirmohatve Nischaltatvam, Nischaltatve Jivana Mukti. That the power of Satsanga has the ability to lead us to self-realization or emancipation, and it slowly first leads us to removal of a delusion between the permanent and the impermanent, the truth and the untruth, and then it leads us to detachment, and that detachment from the transient objects of the world leads us to a place where we become equal-minded, where we are not impacted or affected by the sorrows and joys of the world. And in that equal-mindedness, we stop reacting, and that power of reaction or of non-reaction takes us to a place where we get liberated. And the liberation we are seeking is the liberation from our mind. So that's how Shankaracharya ji described it. And that's why we need to constantly on this path have a Sangha where we can talk about these truths and we can clarify these doubts so that we can resolutely march towards the path of claiming that joy or that ananda that we are seeking, which comes when you experience the truth of yourself. So we start today with day 7, and in day 7 we are now going to talk about what we call as Trikaran Shuddhi. We briefly touched upon it yesterday. Trikaran Shuddhi is the alignment and purity of your thoughts, words, and action. 3, as we said, is 3. Karan is the 3 aspects of thinking, speaking, and actions, and what we do. And Shuddhi is the purity. So once our thoughts become pure, because it all starts with our thoughts. The thoughts is where everything gets created. And when our thoughts become pure, at that point of time, that purity when it starts to come into our speech, that means from here, when it starts to come to our tongue, and when it comes to our tongue, it comes to the tongue of many people. When we talk about great orators, we talk about great scholars, we talk about great pundits, they have a lot of knowledge. But that knowledge, when not put into practice, remains like undigested food, which gives us indigestion. And this, when this knowledge is put into practice in our day to day life, and when it becomes a part of who we truly are, then that starts to bring about a change in us. That starts to propel us on this path of experiencing our truth. So, Sri Karan Shuddhi is when what we think is pure, and what we think is what we say to others. And when we speak that truth, then we make sure that that truth is spoken in a manner which does not hurt the sentiments of others. It may shock their sensibilities because they might not be expecting it, but it should be delivered in a manner which is uh, pleasing. So what we think is what we say, and what we say is what we do, and that is where a lot of us face challenges in putting into actions what we are actually thinking. So, and that has been the challenge that most of us have faced in the external world, because in the external world that we are operating in, people actually, there is a divergence between what they think, what they say, and what they do. And since we have always lived with this kind of a contradiction, we have also picked this up, and we think it's okay that to say something just to please people, but to do something quite different. And this is what leads to integrity. If we are able to align them, then, and when we consistently keep following up the promises that we make, and we are able to deliver it time and time again, uh, we become trustworthy. And when we do the opposite, we are perceived as being untrustworthy, and people try to stay away from us. So when we get into this practice, into this habit of aligning, or of living out what we truly believe in, then it creates an energetic field around us. It starts to create this energetic field of truth. And that truth has its own vibration. And we will talk about in the subsequent topic that how it starts to actually manifest in our lives. But right now, it is sufficient to understand that Trikaran Shuddhi gives us the power of truth. And as we defined, truth is that which is changeless, that which was, which still is, and which shall remain. That is truth. So, and truth is only one, which is changeless, because our bodies change, our speech changes, our voice changes, our thoughts change. All this is subject to change. But there is something which has always existed. And that something is what we are seeking. And that what the Guru's message is, that that something is inside of us. And our journey in the Atma Chalisa is to experience that something, to experience that truth of the self. So that journey we have started upon, and we are wanting to know that whatever teachings or whatever learnings that we get from life, if we can start putting them into practice, and the path of that is the experiential part, which we talked about yesterday, is the part of Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. That's how we do it. Because to put something into practice, you must have done a lot of manana to it. First, you must have understood it, then you must have done a lot of contemplation about it, and that contemplation then leads you to it becoming synthesized in you as a part of you, and that is when nididhyasana happens. So that's the methodology of it, and then we take up one by one what we are understanding during this Atma Chalisa, and then we start to put it into practice. Okay, so that is the concept of truth. This you can break down to achieve the final truth of yourself. The path is through Trikaran Shuddhi, because Trikaran Shuddhi creates a power in you, which is received by everybody, no matter where you are. So that is what we spoke about on day 7 or in chapter 7, Trikaran Shuddhi, and then on the 8th day we spoke about another basic fundamental that affects all of life, and that is law of karma. Now, what is law of karma? Law of karma is simply put as cause and effect. That every action that we do, that action has a consequence or a result. Okay, it's a scientific law as well, that whatever Newton said that every action has a reaction, right? Archimedes' principle says that there is, whenever an energy is displaced, there is some energy that comes and takes its place. So there is a cause and there is an effect, and the cycle of cause and effect is continuous. And so the law of karma says that whatever actions we undertake in this world, when we take a human body, when we come into this world, all actions have a consequence, and we have to either enjoy or suffer the results of those actions in either this lifetime or in a future lifetime. And actually what is coming to us in this lifetime is coming also because of what we have done in our past lifetimes. So it's like a balance sheet of results which we carry with us, and till we keep, we've exhausted it, it just continues. So we will talk about how actually this law can be made invalid, because otherwise it's a continuous process, because you cannot have a life where there are no actions. So how do we break this chain, right? So before we go into there, we must understand where the seed is sown of karma. The seed of karma is sown not when we actually act. The seed of karma is sown in our thinking process. Actually, when a thought comes to us, that thought is like an arrow which will go and find its target somewhere in this consciousness. And that thought has energy in it. And that energy starts to manifest. It comes to us because when it starts to impact us a lot, we often end up speaking about it to others. Sometimes we blurt it out. Sometimes, if it is a joyous thing, we share it with others. If we are angry about it, we go and confront people. But the seed of karma starts from the minute a thought comes to us, and then that manifests it into some kind of an action. Even actually speaking about it sometimes is the action that happens, because if we hurt someone, then there is a reaction that comes from the other side. If somebody enjoys what we are saying, then there is some joy or excitement or happiness or love that comes back to us. So actually the law of karma has started actually when the thought comes in. So if this law of karma is inescapable, and if this law of karma is going to apply all the time, that means that my good actions will give me good results. That also I have to enjoy, and my bad actions are going to give me problems and challenges in life. That means I have to go through that as well. Then where will the story end? How do we actually get out of this trap of this law of karma? There is a way of getting out of this law of karma, and that is when this law of karma becomes ineffective. that the results that come from our actions do not attach to us. And that happens when we become absolutely selfless, and when we are not doing our actions for seeking any reward or any recognition or any result, either positive result or a negative result, which is what is the central essence of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna talked about karmanyavadika raste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalhe turgu mate sargastva karmane. This is what he's trying to say, that you have a right to perform action. You cannot escape your action. If you come in this world, you must perform your action, because that's your dharma, that's your duty. And you should do it not because of any result. You must do it because you believe that this is the thing that you need to do. You must do it because it is righteous. And because you are not attached to the result, that should not make you unattached to the action. That means you become indifferent to the action. But you have to perform your action, and the result of that is in the hands of the consciousness, and it will give to you what it deserves, what it feels that you deserve. And when you do not have an expectation, you are neither looking for it nor you are craving for it. Therefore, you will never get attached to the results. The results will accrue, but they will no longer bind you. So you stop the law of karma impacting you as an individual soul. This clarity we must understand of what law of karma is, that it is an inescapable law. It's a law of life that we must understand. It governs our life on this planet, and we are completely regulated by it. But if we understand that how to make it not affect us, how it becomes inoperable for us, then you know what you need to do. Okay, so that takes us to the next day, which is day 9, where we talk about a next law, which is called the law of creative life force. Now, what is this law of creative life force? This law states that everything in this universe, everything in our world, everything around us, everything within us, whether what we see, whether what we don't see, is nothing but an energy. And this energy has a frequency on which it is vibrating. So we can call this as the principle of EFV: energy, frequency, and vibration. So when we are in higher states of consciousness, the energy in us becomes so rarefied that we start vibrating on a very high frequency. Okay, saints and sages and enlightened people, they operate on a very high frequency, and they are able to perceive things that normally we are not able to, because we are operating in denser frequencies. And when we experience this higher states of energies inside our body, what's happening is that the vibration in our body changes. So when we do our meditations, whether we are doing it online, whether there are people who are present with me physically here, whenever we go into meditation, we experience either jerks in our body or shocks in our body, or we feel that this energy is starting to rise in us, right? Sometimes it is on the lower chakra, sometimes in the heart chakra, sometimes in the third eye or the crown chakra, or sometimes it is moving between the heart chakra and the crown chakra. So what is this energy? What is this vibration that we are feeling that makes us jerk? And how is it possible that this energy is able to travel through to each one of you who are in different parts of the world, right? What is this connection? What is this that makes it happen? How is this possible? That's a question. That what is this magic that works for us and that we start experiencing? That is the presence of this creative life force, which is what has created this whole universe. So, this energy which is in you is also in me. And the same energy is in each one of us. It's in the plants, it's in the animals, and it is actually also in the inanimate objects as well. It's just that this energy has become condensed and hard and it's solidified, and therefore it's a blocked energy. But the energy is there in everything. That's how everything takes a form. And when this energy principle, energetic principle, is goes out of us, that same human body which looks so beautiful and which is so vibrant and full of strength and has a charisma suddenly becomes lifeless, and everything starts to change. Okay, so this energetic life force is what we are trying to experience. This energetic life force, which is comes, sometimes rises, sometimes goes down, sometimes makes us high and ecstatic, and sometimes make us feel low and depressed and down. Okay, that is what we are trying to examine. That which is universally present, that which has the potential, if experienced fully with the right understanding, then has the ability to give us that state of bliss, that continued state of bliss, despite not doing any meditations with our eyes closed, despite being involved in day-to-day work, we are still absolutely in that state. And that energy is what we have been saying is what is consciousness, God, love, or by whatever name you would like to call it. We know that it is present, we are experiencing it, we are able to send it to each other, we are able to receive it from each other, right? Just by a mere voice, just by seeing someone, and just by thinking about someone, you can actually communicate through this energy. This is the energetic principle through which all saints and sages, all masters who had realized themselves could communicate. And we are moving into a time and a zone where all communications will be telepathic, which will be done energetically. Actually, I have said this many times in the past, that the words that we speak, the language that we speak, the vocabulary that we use is very incomplete. We use phrases that don't make any sense, but we've just acquired them. They do not convey anything. And what we actually are experiencing, as we keep hearing from everybody who participates in these sessions, that what they experience, they cannot put into words. So that means when what we are experiencing cannot be put into words, because there are no words created for it, it has the limitation of language. So therefore, this experience has to be given, this experience has to be received, and it can be done in silence. All masters convey everything they have to convey silently through an energetic exchange. And that happens without words. It's an energetic exchange. And we are moving towards that. As we start experiencing this, as we start understanding what is actually happening inside of us, and as we surrender to it, as we become one with this power will hit you. And this power is right now hitting you in your heart chakra, because this is what we are wanting to experience. And this energetic life force is what we are trying to decode. And that's the process. We will keep touching onto this till the 40th day, till we fully experience it, understand it, and we come into the experience of it. So therefore, this path is of experience. This path is of experiencing in our heart, because mind has a lot of limitations. It has judgments, beliefs, and it creates many obstacles for us. So if we understand this principle fully of the creative life force, then we go to another law, and we're discussing about these basic foundational laws that impact life, because our challenge is, and the tragedy is, we've come into this life without a life manual. We start to live our lives without reading any manual, and we therefore do not understand what happens in our life, because nobody in our schools, we were not taught these laws, because the people who run our schools and who make our textbooks, our teachers, don't themselves understand this. So what they understand is what they have taught us, and what they have taught us has conditioned us, and therefore we are thoroughly confused. So we are trying to, through the Atma Chalisa Parayanam, we're trying to understand what has not been told to us before, or what has been told to us, perhaps it has been told to us in different compartments, and we've never been able to connect them. We've never been able to put two and two together to say, oh, this is how it all works. So we know a lot of this, but we know it in bits and pieces. And Atma Chalisa tries to bring it all together so that all the pieces of the puzzle start to fit in, and it makes sense for us, and we can start experiencing what we have come here to experience. So that's why we are, talking about these laws. Now, therefore, I move on to the next one, which kind of feeds into the energetic principle, or the EFP principle, and that is the law of opposing forces. Now, this is a very beautiful law, and most of the time in our lives we are struggling with this law only. Now, what is this trying to tell us? It's simply saying that for every energy, it's actually Newton's law, for every energy there is an opposite energy. There is always an opposing force coming in. So if I am putting a force like this, I'm displacing some energy, there is some more energy coming and pushing my hand back. Okay, this is the principle behind day and night. Otherwise, we could have had a planet on which there was only day, but every day follows a night. Every season changes to another season. We have equal days and equal nights during equinoxes, and then we have longer days and shorter nights, and shorter days and longer nights in the solstices, right? But ultimately, it is all revolving that the night and day are balanced. Similarly, the good and bad is another opposing force that has been created. As long as there is a good, they have created an opposing force called as bad or evil, right? So these essential forces are nothing but the same energetic life force that EFB we talked about, the creative life force, okay, which the two ends of that spectrum, the two ends of that energetic band, we have divided it into good and bad, or light and dark, or day and night. Actually, there are no two different things. They are the aspects of the same energetic force. You must understand this. And this law of duality, this law of two, it is the one actually which appears to us as the two. They were never two, but it appears to us as two. Okay, and this is essential. If we understand that without this, life cannot exist. Without this, we cannot reach the ultimate experience of the realization of the self. Now, why do I say that? If we came into this birth, and if we took birth, and we've taken a birth, we are still away from our goal of life, if we have not experienced the truth of ourselves, for us to evolve to the next level, we need to overcome some aspects of the self which are coming in the way in our progress or in our evolution or in our change, right? And that opposition or that challenge that we must overcome and we must meet is the opposing force. I give you an example. There was a child who came back from school carrying a glass bowl or a glass jar which had a small tadpole in it, and at the bottom of the jar there was a rock, and this jar had water in it and the tadpole was swimming in it. So the teacher told the boy that you go home, keep this jar of water at your home and keep watching what the tadpole does every day, and come to the school and keep telling me what's happening. So the boy would watch that every day that the tadpole would keep swimming around, and since this rock was there, it was a big rock. This rock was half inside water and some part of it was outside the water, and the tadpole would try to climb onto the rock. But because the legs of the tadpole were too weak, it would try, but it would fall, slip back, it would swim, it would come back, it would try to climb up again, and it would slip and it would fall back and it would swim. And for almost 15 days, this is what the boy was noticing, and this is what the boy would go and tell the teacher every day in the science class. On the 16th day, the boy came back from school and suddenly saw that the tadpole was sitting on top of the rock. And this boy was so happy and so ecstatic that this struggle of 15 days had resulted into finally the tadpole being there. But the boy couldn't understand what had happened. So he went and told the teacher that this is what had happened. And the teacher said, "Can you bring the bowl back?" And when the child brought the bowl back, the science teacher explained, they said, for these 15 days, as the tadpole was trying to climb up the rock, it wasn't successful, but in trying, it started to grow muscles around its hind legs. And these legs slowly, over these 15 days, started to become stronger and stronger and stronger, so that one day it had sufficient strength in its legs that it could withstand the pressure of climbing out of the water onto the rock, and it could climb up. Now, this muscles of the tadpole grew because there was a resistance applied, because it could swim freely without any resistance in the water, but only because there is a rock, it became stronger. Same thing is happening in our life. All these problems, these challenges, these obstacles that we face in life and we get very despondent about and unhappy about are nothing but a chances for us to become a stronger version of ourselves, so that we can let go of all that we are carrying in our mind or we are carrying from our past lifetimes as our innate tendencies. So this is why the law of opposing forces is important, and we have to reach a point where, when we reach that state of equanimity, nischal tattvam, and which leads to Jivan Mukti. Jivan Mukti comes when you realize actually that there is no good and bad, that there was never, this light and dark was an illusion, because actually, can you say that the sun becomes dark ever? Sun, by its very nature as light, just because it is night, can we say that there is no sun? It's only that because of the Earth's rotation, we are not able to, in some parts of the world, we are not able to see it for that time. But that doesn't mean the sun has disappeared. It's an illusion. It is actually not the truth. So this, it appears to be dark, but actually there is light. So if we understand and go beyond this whole creation being split into these two halves of the good and the not so good, the light and the dark, the day and the night, you will realize that they have been created for a particular purpose. Night was created so that we could sleep, gain strength, become stronger in the day, and so that we can overcome what we have to overcome the next day. Right? It is only the aspects of the same one consciousness created in a certain structure so that this evolution can happen for us. And that's why everything is created in an opposing force. So instead of running away from an opposing force, instead of ducking from an opposing force, instead of calling people names or saying how unlucky I am, what kind of a trouble I am in, actually we should be so glad, we should welcome that this opposing force is responsible for who we are and what we have to become. And this idea of opposition in our life, of challenges in our life, are actually meant for making our spiritual muscles grow and for us to realize that this all has a meaning behind it. This has come as a wake up call. This has come us to take us to where we need to be. Because on our own, we are the most lazy people. We talked about it yesterday. We get comfortable with life. We are actually by nature lazy because we do not want to make effort. Who wants, to cook food when it can be ordered from a restaurant? Earlier, we used to go to eat food in a restaurant. Now we have started to order them at home. We're becoming most lazy generation. We want everything instantly. We also want enlightenment instantly. Somebody should come and tap our head and say, the guru comes and blesses and says, come on, I bless you. It doesn't happen like that. We have to work. And so we have to shed our laziness. And we have to stop blaming others. We have to stop finding these boards, I call as sticky boards, on which we keep pinning, cause, blame, and we shirk away from our responsibility, from doing that we must do. We have to shed away this lethargy, as Vivekananda said, or as our Upanishads have said, Uttishta Jagrat, you have to arise, you have to awake, and we have to stop not till the goal is achieved. We have to go there. So this is why, and if you were to look at, if you were to ever go to a, if you were to go to a university to learn, and if it's an experiential university, then in that university you will find that things are designed in such a way that everybody has to come and solve a problem. When we say in the modern universities, project work, what is a project work? That you have understood the theory, but now go and apply it on a project. Go and face problems and find a solution for it. Right? What we call as research. What is this research? Research means you have to find a solution to a problem. You have to go into detail behind it. And actually in this life we have come to actually solve some of these challenges. Right? And this university of experiential learning, which we call as life, is meant to create these challenges for us so that when we face this duality, the best out of us comes. And that is what leads us to the next law. It is actually an extension of this, which is that this whole world is an imperfectly perfect world. What do I mean by that? That this world it may appear to us as imperfect because we say, nothing is going well. Look, people are fighting with each other. Look, there is so much of hunger and poverty. Look, there is so much of exploitation, right? Look, there is so much of spiritual enthusiasm as well, right? So we feel that, and one place there are floods, on the other places there is a famine, right? So it may seem that everything is imperfect. On the other hand, the Vedas talk about Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnavadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. That this whole world is whole and complete by itself, and therefore everything that is created within this whole and complete world, and we are out of this whole and complete world, we are ourselves whole and complete as well. And therefore everything else is whole and complete. So how can it be whole and complete when there is so much of imperfection? So imperfection, as I said, is part of the path of reaching the state of perfection. It is like the obstacle course. There is a race called the obstacle race. The whole idea is to clear those obstacles, and that is where we start to become stronger, more flexible, and we start to reach where we need to reach. We need that spiritual strength. We need that courage. We need that fearlessness. We need that clarity of understanding. And we need this willpower to be able to achieve things. That's why this world is created imperfectly. So therefore, by design, it is created imperfectly. Therefore, there is a war on one hand, and there are people who are experiencing ecstasy on the other hand. There is so much of destruction on one hand, and therefore there is, on the other hand, a creative life force called love is rising also high. Both are required. Both have been created by the same consciousness, and both has a very good role to play at all points of time. Right now, even if you think that the world is at war, and we are, everybody seems to be unhappy, and that's how it is going to be for quite some time, till everything gets settled. But till that time, this world is also perfect. Right now, what's happening in the world is perfect, because to reach, we have to reach that state of that golden age where only love reigns supreme. We have to go through what we are going through. So this world is being perfectly set up to reach that point, because for whatever is happening is being willed by the consciousness. It's part of the scene, it's part of the game, it's part of the evolution, and this evolution has to happen for the next chapter to be unfolded. We cannot read the next chapter of the book unless the old chapter is completed. So the life is very beautifully structured. For each time, for each era, the right set of circumstances, the right set of conditions, the right set of a mindset is already created. And through these conflicting, in this conflict arises peace. In this chaos and turmoil rises that Messiah. The phoenix rises from the ashes. So it's a necessary conditionality. This obstacle course has been very perfectly designed for our individual growth. The beauty of this obstacle course is, the beauty of consciousness is, it is looking at the interest of all the 7.4 billion people on this planet. It has created a perfect course and a perfect plan for every individual in this world. We realize it or not, it's another thing. We are ignorant about it, it's another thing. But if we are aware of it, then something most magical and most beautiful has been created for us. And that is something that we have come here to experience. So this world, however imperfect it might seem to us, and that imperfection lies in our five senses, and our five senses have always waylaid us. They are always the one who have taken us in the wrong path. And in any case, what we perceive with our five senses is illusory in nature. So, in the eyes of the consciousness, in the eyes of the creator, in the eyes of when you become one with this consciousness, you see it's part of the perfect plan. So, it's an imperfectly perfect world. Imperfection is in our eyes. Actual imperfection does not exist. In actuality, in the essence of consciousness, there is only perfection. Even right now, whoever is sitting here, whoever is listening to it, is perfectly set up to be here at this point of time, amongst all the other people, because we are ready to receive this understanding. And if we are open, we are alert, we are in touch with it, that consciousness is already giving us what we need to receive. Everything is perfect. And if you can remain in this awareness, and if you can live in this reality, that at all points that this law operates, then all complaints you have about life, all the challenges you feel in this life will suddenly go away from you, because you will now realize that everything is so perfectly ordained. Not a place, not a blade of grass is out of its place. That's how beautifully it has all been set up. So therefore, welcome in your life what is coming to you at this point of time, because it is coming to you because you need it at this point of time. Don't fight it, don't blame it, don't put it onto somebody else. Acknowledge it, accept it, and if there is some kind of a negative feeling, then forgive people and ultimately overcome it and release it. So this is a process that we continuously go through when we are on the path of experiencing our truth. Don't hold on, don't carry memories, don't blame, just let go and keep surrendering. Keep moving further, keep moving further. Everything is coming to you to test you. The minute you think you've learned something, the very next instant consciousness is going to put a test on you to say, have you understood this or not? Right? And it's a very beautiful process. You cannot move forward unless you clear it. So it's not like an online multiple choice questions where the one which you think is correct, you tick and you pass and you get a certificate. Sorry, in life you cannot get this certificate. So this is how beautiful life is on our planet, and what kind of a beautiful life we are part of, and we are operating in this beautiful world. So with that, we move to the day 12, and this day 12 talks about that the solution lies within a problem. We talked about these challenges that we face in life. When the challenge comes, instead of squirming, instead of resisting, instead of blaming, and instead of fighting and denying, the first thing we should do is to accept it. Because the problem has come. Why should we want to say, why has it happened? Who did it? Let's find somebody who we can, post the blame on. We have come face to face with the problem, accept it, and know it has come to teach you something. So welcome it if you can. And know that the consciousness does not give you a problem unless it knows that you can handle it. And most of our emotions come in because of our lack of acceptance. Where the blame, judgment, and blaming, sometimes we blame our circumstances, and sometimes we blame our destiny, sometimes we blame our guru, sometimes we blame our other people who we think are a cause of it. that will only bring heartburn, and that will only bring you stress and anger and anxiety and all the stupid things that the mind does. But if you can instantly say, hey guys, this is the problem, okay, it has come to me, instead of finding out why it has come to you, accept it and release others from the prison of your judgments. And then let's do something about it. How to fix it? And when our entire energy, instead of looking for the why of it, goes into the how of it, and what we need to do and how we need to do it, you will start realizing that the solution lies exactly within the problem. No problem comes to us without a solution. It is like the the deer always is running in the forest, going mad with this fragrance that is coming from there, the fragrance of musk, and it goes mad, searching the entire forest. From which tree is this fragrance coming? From which herb this fragrance is coming? From which bush this fragrance is coming? Doesn't ever realize that the fragrance is coming from within the deer, right? It was that musk fragrance that we use in our perfumes. It comes from there. But we are searching all the time for solutions outside, whereas the solutions are always there in front of us. We don't have that awareness to look for the solution. And when we accept the problem, it releases a lot of energy. When we start to focus on the problem, on finding the solution of the problem, the solution reveals itself to you. And it is almost magical that, when you have a lock that comes, the key actually, if you see, when you buy a new lock, I don't know in the other countries, but in India, when you buy a new lock, along with that is tied the key. So actually, the key is always dangling with the lock. It's just you have to discover where the key is. So if you release yourself and you start focusing with this kind of an awareness, with this kind of a mindset, that the problem is a welcome source, it has come for our growth, it has come for our understanding, it has come for us to take us to that point where we can become equal minded. Then the whole effort will go towards how do you overcome it, and how do you become skilled at playing this game of overcoming challenges. Because life without challenge is the most boring life. Because there are some people we see in life who do not face any problems at all. There are quite a few I see who in this lifetime have just come to enjoy. And I actually feel I've been blessed in this life to have a million problems. And I feel so blessed that I had to go through what I had to go through. And because what I had to go through is where I am today. And I feel that I have lived at least 15 or 20 lifetimes in this lifetime of the diversity of the challenges and problems that consciousness has thrown on me. It just never got, it was like a never ending challenge. But I feel blessed today because I was thrown into those situations. Surely at that time I did not have this understanding. I did struggle and some, but once I started to understand what this game was about, then it became a game. Then it became a joyful game. Then I realized, oh, it's trying to figure out where is your weak point. Remember, we say that the weakest link in the chain is what brings the whole pyramid down, or the whole structure down. So the consciousness wants to make sure that we have become the perfect representative and the perfect manifestation of that consciousness. So there can be no weak chinks in our armor, and it will make sure that it casts you as an image of itself. We are all the image of God, right? And I I I challenge you, and I tell you today, it's my experience, and I see through many people, whatever you avoid in life will come to haunt you. Wherever you make shortcuts in life, they come to bite you. Whatever you run away from, you have to come and face it. So there are some who don't like, to cook food, and the consciousness will make sure that you end up, to start to cook food. There are some who do not like to do gardening, but make sure that you will have to go through that. Like this, consciousness just understands that, because we say, what do we say? This is not my thing. This is not my cup of tea. I don't think I was made for this. These are all negative beliefs that we've acquired. Consciousness will say, okay, yeah, this is what you're saying. Come, I will show you, right? And situations will come that we will have to deal with it. Instead of that, when we change our inner narrative, and when our narrative changes and we say, yes, come, let's see what you have to share with me. What is it that you have to give me? I know you will not give me a problem that I cannot solve. And when we become enthusiastic about this, and we understand that this is coming for my higher good, then I become joyful. And all blame, all anger, all anxiety, no one is trying to overwhelm you. No one wants to dominate you. No one wants to decimate you. No one wants to control you. This is all figment of our imagination. I don't like this. I don't like this medicine. I don't like to do this. I don't like that. These are all some things that are mind, triggered by our five senses. We get caught into this trap. So I am discussing all these aspects with you because this is a universal phenomena. It happens with all of us. And if our awareness expands and we get into that zone of understanding in totality, and I would really request all of you that whatever we are discussing, I hope you did manana on what we did yesterday. And I hope that, before our next session tomorrow, that you are able to now look at all these 12 chapters or these 12 days in totality and review your life around these 12 and see where you are and what is your understanding and solidify this understanding of yours, because this becomes the basis of the work we have to do. We are making a very strong foundation. We are trying to now for the first time read the operating manual. I would suggest that some of you who do not have the book, The Pathless Path, which is the book on the Atma Chalisa, please go online on Amazon. This book is available. Go and read the book, or go and listen to the videos again. And it's good to buy the book because it's like an operating manual, which I think each one of us should have, and we can refer back to it so that our understanding reaches that point of clarification where this becomes a part of us. We become a living embodiment of what we are going through. So with that, I want to thank all of you. I want to thank consciousness for making this happen. All that comes and happens is how it is meant to be, and we all remain witness on to this divine drama that is unfolding, and in eternally in gratitude to that consciousness, to the Guru, and to all of you for being here. Thank you so much. I look forward to now hearing from you, your experiences, your questions, whatever you would like to share. This is a session for all of you. Thank you. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.